Welcome, everyone. We are about to dive into one of the deepest, most incredible secrets from the Zohar, the story of King David's borrowed life. Seriously, this is a concept that's going to completely reframe how you think about destiny, about greatness, and about the invisible cosmic connections that link souls across thousands of years. This isn't just some ancient tale, it's literally the blueprint for how divine light gets passed down through history and how a soul that was destined for nothing became the absolute foundation for everything. All right, so here's the roadmap for our journey. We're going to start with this mind-bending paradox, a real life and death mystery at the heart of King David's dynasty. Then we'll uncover this primordial gift that literally travels through time. After that, we'll see how that gift gets passed down in a kind of sacred ancestral power transfer. From there, we have to decode the cosmic blueprint, the Sephirot, that makes it all possible. Then we'll land all this high-level spiritual engineering with two really cool modern analogies. And finally, we'll discover what this ancient secret really means for you and me today.
So let's just jump right into the central mystery. The Zohar tells us something that sounds completely impossible. King David, the writer of the Psalms, the forefather of the Messiah, the founder of the eternal monarchy, was, on a deep cosmic level, never actually supposed to live. His soul was destined to be stillborn. Think about that. He was a vessel created with zero inherent life force of his own. He was a king without a life.
And that question right there is the key that unlocks this entire deep dive. The mystics explain that David's soul comes from the Sephirah of Malchut, or kingdom, but in its most raw, unformed state. They call this realm the side of darkness. Now, that doesn't mean evil. It means a place of pure potential that has no light of its own. It's a total receptacle, a vessel waiting to be filled, not a source. So the billion-dollar question is, how does this soul, which has no energy of its own, not only come into existence but live for 70 years and establish the most important family line in all of history? That is the mystery we are here to solve.
Okay, so the first piece of the puzzle takes us all the way back to the very beginning of humanity itself, to the first man, Adam Harishon. He gave a gift that spanned the entire chasm of time, based on a vision of destiny that would change history before it even happened. And this wasn't just some nice gesture, it was a fundamental piece of cosmic engineering that was absolutely necessary for the world to function properly. So Adam, the very first man, was supposed to live for 1,000 years, a number that represents a perfect, complete cycle. But Adam had this unique ability, this panoramic sight that could scan the entire book of future generations. And way down the timeline, he sees this tiny flickering soul. He sees David, a soul with this monumental mission but with no fuel in the tank, no life to get the job done. Adam immediately understood that this soul was the key to building God's kingdom on earth, the vessel for the Messiah. And so, in this just unbelievable act of generosity, Adam carves off 70 years from his own 1,000-year lifespan, bringing his own life down to 930 years, just to ignite the flame of King David. And get this, there's a secret hidden in plain sight, encoded right into Adam's own name, that proves this was all part of the master plan from the get-go. The Hebrew name Adam is spelled Aleph, Dalet, Mem, but it's also a divine acronym. The Aleph stands for Adam, the original giver. The Dalet stands for David, the one chosen to receive. And that final letter, Mem, stands for Mashiach, the Messiah, who has to come from David. You see, this transfer wasn't some cosmic patch or a last-minute fix. It was a core part of the divine architecture, woven into creation from the very first human being. The destinies of these three are just fundamentally, eternally linked. But okay, Adam's gift wasn't like a simple wire transfer of life force. This primordial energy was so raw, so foundational, it couldn't just be dropped into the world. It needed to be carried and channeled and confirmed through the great pillars of history themselves, the forefathers. The energy had to be stepped down, refined, and grounded in reality. The best way to think about it is like a sacred torch being passed down and stabilized through generations before it could be held safely by its final recipient.
This timeline shows you exactly how this cosmic relay worked. Adam provides the foundational 70-year package, but then that energy is routed through the patriarchs. Abraham, who lived to 175, contributes 5 of those years. Jacob, who lived to 147, gives 28 years. And Joseph, who lived to 110, contributes the biggest chunk, 37 years. And here is where it gets so beautiful. 5 plus 28 plus 37 adds up perfectly to 70. This wasn't just a gift, it was a substantiation. Each patriarch was infusing Adam's original gift with their own unique spiritual energy, essentially making it usable for the soul of King David.
But wait a minute, this just brings up another layer to the mystery. 3 of the great patriarchs contribute.
Abraham, Jacob, and Joseph. But one is very obviously missing from the list: Isaac. Isaac lived to be 180, longer than any of them, but he gave absolutely nothing to David's life force. Why? Why would the pillar of strength, the pillar of divine severity, be left out of this incredibly important transaction? To answer that, we have to go even deeper. We have to look at the very architecture of reality itself.
So, to finally understand why Isaac is absent, and really the whole mechanic of this life transfer, we have to pull back the curtain on existence. We need to look at the divine operating system, the 10 Sephirot. These are the divine emanations or attributes that literally form the structure of everything. So what are the Sephirot? Really, they're not just some philosophical ideas. Think of them as the 10 primary channels of divine energy, the OS of creation. It's like taking a single, infinite divine light and passing it through a prism to reveal 10 different fundamental frequencies or colors. Each one has a totally unique function, and the way they all interact with each other is the dynamic blueprint for everything that ever happens anywhere. And understanding this blueprint is the key to this whole story. Okay, so here's the map. Each of these historical figures is also what the Kabbalists call a Merkava, a chariot, a primary vehicle for one of these Sephirot. So Abraham embodies Chesed, which is boundless loving kindness. Just picture a brilliant flowing white light. Isaac embodies Gevurah, strength, judgment, severity. Picture a focused, powerful, restricted red light. Jacob is Tiferet, harmony and truth, the perfect mix of kindness and severity. That's a stable, balancing green light. Joseph is Yesod, the foundation. He's the channel who gathers all these higher energies and funnels them down. And finally, David. He embodies the final Sephirah, Malchut, kingdom. And its color is black, symbolizing absence, because its entire job is to be the vessel that receives all the other lights. And this ancient phrase from the Zohar in Aramaic is the absolute key to everything. Speaking about Malchut, the Sephirah of kingdom, it says, Delayt lamugarma klum. It means she has nothing of her own. Now, this isn't a criticism or saying it's lacking anything. It is a precise technical statement of its function. It's the job description of David's soul source. And this paints the perfect picture. Malchut, or kingdom, is just like the moon. I mean, the moon is majestic, right? It rules the entire night sky, it controls the tides, but every single bit of its light is a reflection. It has no light of its own. It gets everything from the sun. In the same way, David's soul, as the embodiment of Malchut, is the ultimate vessel. It's designed specifically to receive all that divine light from the Sephirah above it, and then manifest that combined energy as leadership and kingdom right here in our world. It can't generate life. Its job is to receive and express it. And boom, now we can finally solve the mystery of Isaac. David's soul, Malchut, remember, comes from that realm of pure potential, that darkness that needs to be filled with light. Isaac's energy, Gevurah, is the Sephirah of judgment and restriction. Its job is to set boundaries and contain the unformed forces of chaos. Because Gevurah's primary function is to interface with and contain that exact realm, it cannot also directly fuel a vessel that is emerging from it. It would be like a cosmic short circuit. That powerful, restrictive red light of Gevurah is just fundamentally incompatible with the empty, receptive nature of Malchut. The flowing kindness of Abraham and the harmonizing blend of Jacob could be channeled down safely, but the raw, defining power of Isaac could not. His job was to guard the boundary, not cross it. Okay, wow. That was a very deep dive into the spiritual mechanics. So now, to make all of this really land and feel solid, let's translate it into two modern analogies you can really grab onto. All right, for all the engineers and tech-minded people out there, think of this whole setup like a distributed power grid or maybe a complex cloud architecture. The patriarchs, Abraham, Jacob, and Joseph, they're the upstream source systems, the legacy power generators. David, as Malchut, is a critical but dependent endpoint node. It has no internal power source, no battery of its own. The 70 years of life, those are specifically allocated energy packets sent down the network. And Isaac, as Gevurah, he represents an incompatible firewalled channel. The system has a hard firewall in place. His specific energy protocol simply cannot be routed to that node because of a fundamental conflict at its origin point. And for all the gamers listening, let's look at this like an epic RPG. At the character creation screen, the hero David is generated, but his base stat for health points is 0. HP equals 0. He literally can't even spawn into the game world. But then this ancient god-tier hero, Adam, sees his potential and transfers a massive 70 HP power-up. But to stabilize that raw energy, the legendary ancestral heroes, Abraham of the Kindness class, Jacob of the Harmony class, and Joseph of the Foundation class, apply their own unique buffs, confirming his life force. And only then, with a full health bar of 70, can David finally enter the game and start his world-changing quest.
So, we've gone on this incredible cosmic journey, from a paradox all the way to its Kabbalistic solution. But what does any of this ancient mystical secret actually mean for us, right here, right now? Let's bring it all home.
You know, when you really boil it down, the story of David is this profound lesson in humility and in our interconnectedness. It teaches us that our strengths, our talents, our very life force, it's not entirely self-generated. It's a gift. It's an endowment from our parents, our grandparents, our teachers, and from that divine light that flows from above. What David's story really shows us is that true greatness isn't about being a self-made sun, generating your own light. It's about becoming a worthy vessel, a clean, clear moon that perfectly reflects the suns that shine down upon it.
And really, that leaves us with a final thought to carry with us. Because just like King David, every single one of us is a composite of borrowed light. We are all Malchut in our own lives. And so the challenge and the real sacred opportunity is to first just take a moment and recognize the sources of that light in our own lives. The love, the wisdom, the strength that was passed down to us. And then we have to ask ourselves the most important question of all. How are we choosing to reflect that light? How are we using our borrowed time to build our own small kingdom of kindness and harmony and purpose in the world?
Thank you for joining us for this complete journey through the Pardes. We hope these ancient truths help you and your family improve your own dimensions this week. If you enjoyed this full chapter deep dive, please like, subscribe, and share which part of the journey touched your soul in the comments. We'll see you in the next chapter.